98.7 WMMS.
Well, you got one past me. It's not going to happen often. But every once in a while it will. That's what I get for being so snarky so early in the show. Nexus of the Universe is a Seinfeld reference.
Ooh, dork.
I know, right? And I didn't get it. This is when Kramer's lost, going to visit his girlfriend.
Well, what street are you on? Okay, I'm on First and First. How can the same street intersect with itself? It must be at the nexus of the universe. Just wait there, I'll pick you up. And Kramer, stay alive. No matter what occurs, I will find you.
Yeah, well, there you go. Here, they were trying to be funny with me. They were trying to have fun, which is what we're here to do. They were trying to engage with Captain Fun, and I didn't get it. My apologies. I'm not going to get them all, and that one went past me. I got to say, that's not one of my favorite episodes either. If I'm going to miss a Seinfeld reference, I'm not completely surprised that one. The one where Kramer's dating a girl like in another part of the city, and he refers to it as a long-distance relationship, and then he gets lost. It's been wild to see Michael Richards do all of the press he's been doing for his memoir because he has been so voluntarily out of the public eye for a long time. And to come back because you have to do all that press. It's been very, very strange. And he's been, obviously, because these are things in the book, you know, he's been very candid and open about, you know, his voluntary removal of himself from showbiz. And if he hadn't done it, showbiz would have done it for him for a while. But he always kind of had a, by his own admission, he always seemed like a quietly angry guy. If you watch any of those Seinfeld bloopers, Michael Richards is always the guy who was not having fun when somebody flubbed because he wanted to do it the way it was supposed to be done, and he wanted to stay in the mindset. Everybody else is cracking up and having a good time, and he didn't really have too much fun with that. So it's been wild to see him do all that press. Guardians over the Reds last night. That's only the first of two. They'll play them again tonight at the Great American Ballpark there in Cincinnati. 5-3 was the final last night. 7-10 is the second game before they head up to Toronto to play the Blue Jays through the weekend, and then on Tuesday they will be back to host the Mariners at Progressive Field. Dude got tased last night.
Yeah.
At the ballpark.
He ran onto the field, did a backflip, and then got tased.
Yeah, and he's got to go to court over it. I was watching one of Channel 5, I guess, threw it to a Cincinnati affiliate talking about it.
The Reds are losing. Yeah. He's like, what do I have to lose? Jumps onto the field and approaches a Cleveland Guardians player. I want you to see this video, and I'll walk you exactly through it. This is 19-year-old William Hendon, runs over, tries to give a fist bump to that guy, and he sees a cop running at him. He stops to do a backflip, kicks that officer's hat off.
Tased him.
Don't worry, it only took that officer a second to pull out his taser and hit him in the back. You see back up there. These are the players in the background just standing there, hands on their hips. Like, come on, get this guy off of here. There he is again, another angle. Talking to the Cleveland Guardians player. He's wearing a Johnny Bench jersey, and it's hard to tell, but I just saw some slow motion video of this. He's just wearing his white socks. No shoes on this guy. William Hendon, he was taken to the Hamilton County Justice Center. He was booked within an hour of this incident happening.
I wonder if they have stadium jail there in Cincinnati. I got to tell you, I feel like it was I was either misunderstood it or was kind of sold a bill of goods. Because the articles that I saw kept referring to the guy as a streaker. And I guess I think of a streaker as somebody who's running around naked. Is that not the case? Can you streak with your clothes on?
Yeah, that's what I always thought. Maybe, you know, words change over time, and now maybe just anybody running out onto the field, they're considered a streaker.
I guess so.
But, yeah, usually it's a naked guy or a naked person.
And so when I fired up the video, I was like, oh, they're going to have to blur this guy out. They tased him buck naked. No, he's running around wearing a Johnny Bench jersey. Tase the dude. Are you telling me there's two cops out there? And I know they want to get the game going. I understand. And path of least resistance is to just zap the dude and get him down. But chase him around for a little bit. Tackle him. Maybe it's considered more humane to zap him and let him fall of his own volition than have to deal with some kid who was running out onto the field in the first place.
I think also
screaming that he got assaulted by the cops.
He just wasn't going to get caught. That cop probably wasn't going to catch him.
Yeah, he didn't look like he was in tip-top shape. Criminal trespassing and obstructing official business. He pleaded not guilty. He's a sophomore at Ohio State University and is the grandson of a former Hamilton County juvenile court judge.
Oh, I wonder if he'll get off.
Perfect.
Yeah, I wonder
Community
if he has
service.
any connections whatsoever. I'm going to go out there and of course, he's banned from the stadium. Josh Naylor hitting his 17th homer.
50 RBIs.
Yeah.
Doing real good. Team is so good.
Game 2 of the Ohio Cup Series. That's what they call it, the Ohio Cup. That's what a lot of those players put into their uniforms, too.
My sister was at the game the other day, and she texts me, and she goes, "Is Josh Naylor hot?" She's like, "I can't tell." I was like, "He's like a chubby douchebag, so yes."
Wow,
Like, based
Mary
on
goes
mine.
all,
Yeah.
Why is he a douchebag?
He is very braggadocious.
Oh, yes.
That's
Yeah, he's out there killing it.
I know. But
It's
that's
the
what I'm
guys
saying.
it's the guys who are bragging all the time and don't have anything to back it up.
Like, he's good at what he does, which makes him a little bit more attractive. And he is cute. And then he also is a little bit, I mean, he's got a little ego about him. And I was like, yeah, so that's exactly mine and your type to my sister.
Oh, this wasn't a negative. This was these were
No.
all you were.
Those are like, this is why he's hot to you. I was
see.
explaining it because she's like, he's not like really traditionally attractive or what I go for. And I was like, oh, no. Talent mixed with a
Because if
little
you
bit
just
of ego.
look at him,
It's not that hot.
he also he's
he
not
is.
just like, he's weird because he's got like blue eyes,
But he's Canadian and he's biracial.
biracial,
Yeah.
and so like he's just like you're just like, what happened?
There's some things going on with the dude.
But he kicks ass.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing, Josh.
There you go.
Also, I love that he's kind of a chunky dude, but he still hustles so hard.
Yeah.
He beats out throws to first base all the time because they're like, oh, we got this fat guy. He's not going to make it to first base before we throw him out. And then, boom, again and again, he hustles through plays and just gets it done.
By the way, I know it's in our sports reports, and I think Stansbury might have mentioned it too, but I have been remiss in mentioning that the Cleveland Monsters are one game away from the Calder Cup playoffs.
Yeah, played
They
nice.
came back from like a 3-0 deficit.
Yep.
So if you're a hockey fan, and I am, or just Cleveland sports in general, Cleveland Monsters are in Hershey tonight. And if they win, they're back in the Calder Cup championship game, which is very exciting. Bring another trophy to Cleveland. Why not? Best part of the Streaker video, somebody says how disinterested Stephen Kwan looks. Yeah, those guys just want to get back to playing the game. None of those guys are ever going to be like, yeah, there's a guy on the field. This is great. They just want to get back to playing the game. Got a lot of messages on the iHeartRadio app, on the After Hours line from our conversation yesterday that went a little longer than I had anticipated about Thin Lizzy. Just playing around, and Mary went.
I did not go that hard. I just said they weren't good.
You went in on the band. You went in on anyone who might like the band.
That is not what I said.
You
I
said it
I
reminds me of a
pictured
bunch of fat dads.
I never said fat. I said they were bad dads.
Well,
ignoring their family.
I think fat is implied. You're saying bad dads who are in amazing shape, ignoring their families.
Yes. That's
Are they
exactly
ignoring
what
their
I
families
said.
because they're going to the gym too much?
Yes.
Ah,
Actually.
all right. Then I sit corrected.
Mary lives in New York now, and her boy is out of town, or not in town, when she's in New York. So when he comes to New York, her boy is back in town, in her town, in New York, because she's in New York and he's in wherever y'all are. So her boy is out of town.
Oh, all right. It sounds like I guess
she just
her
broke
train
it
of thought.
down
Yeah.
yeah.
She
Okay.
just. I don't know that that's a reason you should like the song. I mean,
No,
she's
she's just
explaining
saying,
the etymology of it, I guess. But
if you live it, you should like it,
yeah.
I guess.
If you live it, you should like it. Huh. Well, so a lot of other people agree with you too. So you weren't alone.
I kind of have to side with Mary on the whole Thin Lizzy lame situation. As soon as I heard karaoke with that song, I instantly started thinking of a corporate party that I went to back in the early 2000s with a bunch of drunk guys that thought that they were hot shrimp because of their positions, making $45,000 a year as middle management. Anyway, love you, bye.
It sounds like a lot of baggage goes into how you guys process
That's
music.
what I'm saying.
Like,
and again,
like one person singing, or like one group of guys singing the song is what you immediately think of when you hear the song. I just think of all the good times.
Oh, every good time.
well, but also, you know, obviously music is very emotional for people. And so any song anyone hears that you might love, somebody else goes, it's the worst song I've ever heard.
Right.
So it's obviously we all know where that's coming from. But that was a very specific anecdote that he
and like throwing stones from a guy that doesn't have a good phone. I mean, you heard the buzz on that thing. Whew.
But also, a guy in middle management making $45,000, he's looking for things to be happy about. Let him be happy.
Right. They're having
He's
a good
jamming
time.
out to Thin Lizzy. He's
Let 'em
like,
have their
"Woohoo,
moment.
I'm making $45,000.
Stop yucking yums.
Man.
And also, like, what year were they making $45,000? Because it sounds like it was a while ago. And when making $45,000 a year as middle management was probably doing pretty good.
Well, unless it was the 50s. I mean,
Hey,
in the 70s, if you're making $45,000 a year, I mean.
If you're making $45,000 a year in the 90s, you're doing okay.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Look at the comparison to, like,
Yesterday's dollars to today's dollars.
Yeah, there's things like if you were making like $50,000, that's like making $200,000 today in cost and stuff.
Well, I remember when my ex-wife and I were both in radio. We were both at the same radio station. She was on, she was the female on the morning show, and I was on in the afternoon. And both of us combined, we were making like almost $60,000 a year. And when Pittsburgh called me, they offered me 48. And so she didn't want to move. And I said, well, I'm trying to advance my career here, and making a jump in market size and stature from Kalamazoo, Michigan to Pittsburgh was a massive jump. I was going to skip all kinds of small and medium markets. And I said, it's worth the pay cut. And she was very, very resistant to it. I really had to work to convince her that it was the right move. Because she wouldn't have a radio job when we got to Pittsburgh. I would. And so there was that element of it. And then, of course, she came to the conclusion that she was kind of tired of doing radio anyway. So if we had stayed and she had come to that conclusion, of course, I would have probably been very resentful about it. As it turned out, I gave her so many more reasons to resent me down the road that is that even, Steven? Is that the definition of even, Steven? I don't know. But listen, if you're dancing around and you hear a song at a corporate event or otherwise that you love, because you're at the mercy of the DJ. You know, this all started because Bill sang it at karaoke at the Treehouse the other night.
Mm-hmm.
You're not at the mercy of the DJ karaoke. You are the DJ. Hey, play the song for me. But when you go to an event, you're at the mercy of whatever they're playing. So when people stand up and they go, "Oh, I love this song," you get out there and cut a rug. Do the kids still say cut a rug?
Yep.
Most of them, yeah.
All the time.
Pretty sure that they still do.
That one stuck around.
Uh-huh.
Well, I went away for like 2 years and then came back. $50,000 a year in 1990 would be making $120,000
There's
a
no
year.
way that's true. Double?
I found it on the internet. It's got to be right.
It's not
Double.
It's not.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yes.
I thought he said 90 for rhetoric. He said 1990, and I thought he said 90. Anyway.
No, 50 to 120?
Yeah.
I mean, that was 34 years ago.
I guess, but it's not like wages have increased along with.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
is-
right. Everybody goes, oh, in today's dollars. Yeah, but nobody gets paid today's dollars compared to those dollars.
That's what I'm saying. If someone was making $45K in the 90s, they're probably doing okay compared to, making $45K now. You're kind of
Well, all I know is I was making 48 in 1999, and I could barely keep my head above water. So, who knows? 2 camels escaped from the Cedar Point petting zoo. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. Anybody see this on? It was on
running
TikTok.
around, yeah.
Yeah. Running around. Let me find this for you here.
They're going crazy.
Yeah. So I didn't even know they had camels at Cedar Point, and I'm in that camp.
How did they get out?
I didn't know they had camels at Cedar Point. Just running around.
Jumping in the pens over there.
Oh, get some expletives in these Cedar Point videos, will ya? They're like, hey, which way is the slushy stand, man?
This camel looks so happy to be out.
Yeah, of course.
Of course he is.
Trying to get the hell out of
He's
here.
like, oh, this is so much better.
I don't
It's so,
belong.
look, it has so much room for activities.
He's like, stop riding me.
I'm trying to find my family.
It's hump day.
Hump day! He's like, hey, where did everybody go? Well, congratulations to those camels, and I hope that they found the main gates and were able to get back out onto the highway there, where they would subsequently probably get hit and killed by passing cars. Be great if they just went over to the grill and chill there. They got out of the barnyard, which is what they call the petting zoo, but were quickly returned. Nobody got hurt while the camels were out. Although one of them nearly kicked a man in a motorized wheelchair. So one of the other videos does have some, I'll show it to you, but I won't air the audio because apparently it's got some expletives. But here, look, watch this. The camel's running around, and there's a guy right there. There's no shortage of motorized wheelchairs at a place like Cedar Point. And this thing, after the initial blush of it getting out of its pen, probably got a little nervous and starts, look at that. He's hopping around.
Yeah.
And the guy in the motorized wheelchair is like, man,
chilling,
that was a lawsuit waiting to happen.
He's trying to move into it. Like,
yeah, he's like, I'm already in a motorized
wheel.
wheelchair. It probably wasn't a wheelchair. That looked more like one of those things that,
Like a cart.
yeah, you ride around in if you're immobilized to some degree. But, well, there you go. I guess all's well that ends well. Mary got 50-50 on the Thin Lizzy thing.
Mm-hmm. It's
And,
controversial.
But who knew?
Who
knew it would be so controversial? The late, great Phil Lynott from, people talk about Irish rock stars, and everybody thinks of U2 and things like that, but you'll find quickly that way more people in Ireland love Phil Lynott than love Bono. And maybe that's the way it should be. I remember the second time we went to Dublin for the show, Corey Roddick was with us, and he and I walked over to the bar called the Bruxelles, and right outside there is that classic Phil Lynott statue in bronze. And a very exciting time. Speaking of Ireland, one of the great joys I've ever had on this program was talking to Henry Winkler. It was a long time ago. He's been on the show a couple of times, but it hasn't been for a while. And he just ended up randomly being the guy they talked to on the street during a hotel fire evacuation. It was the Shoreham Hotel, I think. The hotel that we've stayed at in Dublin is called the Fitzwilliam. It's right across from this huge park called St. Stephen's Green. And right around the corner is this hotel. And they've got people on the street as they're, they got the news crews and things, and they've got talking to people who are filing out of this hotel because fire alarms had gone off. And Henry Winkler ends up being one of the guys they're talking to.
When I heard the fire alarm, I thought it was the clock radio. I thought somebody had set the alarm before we got there, like another guest. And finally, I went into another room and it was still buzzing. So I called downstairs and the woman said in a very calm voice, "Yes, we're all evacuating. You must evacuate right now." And I left.
I saw you thanking all of the Dublin Fire Brigade there.
You know what? How wonderful. Firemen are some of my favorite human beings. Firemen and firewomen. They run in when other people are running out. I think they deserve to be shook. We came last night. Our plane was delayed in London for about 3.5 hours. This morning we got up and evacuated. And it was an amazing adventure right here in Dublin. I cannot wait to see the rest of Dublin.
Was there a nicer guy than Henry Winkler?
Do they know that's who that was?
I
Or
don't
were
know.
they just...
I don't know if they did initially, but then obviously they were like, I'm sure, yeah. At first they probably just thought it was an old dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in Dublin promoting his memoir. It's called Being Henry, The Fonz and Beyond. I got to get him back on. I want to get him back on and talk to him about the book because he writes a lot of children's books. He's obviously got a lot of grandkids, but just the nicest dude. You know, instead of being upset, he's like, "Oh, the firemen are great. I can't wait to see everything else in Dublin. Fantastic." Henry Winkler, Arrested Development alum. He was on Barry most recently, right? For people who watched Barry, he's great. Who was he on Arrested Development? He wasn't Bob Loblaw.
No, he was
the guy that needed to be picked up, or that was Martin Short?
No, that was Martin Short. He was the lawyer before Bob Loblaw, Barry Zuckerkorn.
Zuckerkorn. Oh, that's right. Barry Zuckerkorn.
There's a moment when he microwaves a ding dong in the aluminum wrapper and it explodes, and he just goes, and like they're all like looking at him, and he goes, "I really wanted that."
What a raw moment.
Our old boss here, not in-house, but one of our regional vice presidents was a gentleman named Gene Romano, and he and I go way back. He was my boss when I first went to Pittsburgh, and he became like a corporate guy for iHeart, and he still is. We're just not part of his territory anymore, and every time something would come up and I would mention his name to my wife, she'd always think of Gene Parmesan.
Yeah.
She goes, "I can never remember his name. Is it Gene Parmesan?" Because that was Martin Mull on Arrested Development,
right,
and he'd always show up out of nowhere and freak Lucille out.
Yeah, and she'd be so excited.
So
about
excited
it.
to see Gene Parmesan. He would just turn around. He'd be in a sombrero and a mustache, and she'd always be so excited. The late great Jessica Walters, but Martin Mull's still alive. He's from the East Side. Isn't Martin Mull from Shaker Heights or something?
I believe so.
Okay, I've got to North Ridgeville. Born in Chicago, moved to North Ridgeville.
Okay.
There it is. I'm going to break here. 35192. Want to shoot me a text. AlanCoxShow.com if you want to watch, and we'll be back.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7 W.